Okay, here we are again in beautiful Washington, D.C. The weather is nice again today, which is not too shocking. Actually, it is because we had a really horrible winter that's just left most of us angry and disgruntled and ready for warm weather. But I digress. If you notice my eyes shifting, I apologize. There's a group of bees over there that seem to perhaps be wanting to come my way. But anyway, I digress. Guys, it's great to be here again. Today's discussion is about leadership. Again, go figure, we're in a leadership class. This week's assignment was your best leadership experience. So, how do you put that into words? How do you define that pivotal moment that you would call the best? What is the I Ching, if you will, of leadership moments in your life? And I had to think back because I've had a lot of moments where leadership was definitely a part of a decision I made or an operation that I was involved in or a function that I had. But I had to sit back and think, okay, what's the best leadership experience? What's the pinnacle? And I actually went back to I would call it the best, and I'd call it the worst because I felt very uncomfortable and out of my element and insecure. But it was a defining moment for me. So in that respect, it was the best. So go back in time with me, if you will, several years. I'm a senior in college, and I'm working as a manager at a Chick-fil-A on the north side of Atlanta. And Chick-fil-A does something called Spirit Nights, and that's where a school from the local community will come in and will serve anywhere from, say 500 to 1,000 students, parents, teachers, counselors, administrators, the whole nine yards. And for the Chick-fil-A that I was working at, we had most of our business was kind of breakfast and then lunch because we were in an industrial area. We weren't really in a neighborhood, so to speak, where we had a lot of evening and dinner time guests. It was mainly our breakfast and lunch. So now we're going into nighttime. I had one person call out sick. I had one person just flat out not show up. So I'm already down two people, and it's me. The other manager who was going to be there had to leave early. Spirit Night had just begun, and we get a rush. And when I say a rush, I mean, I want you to imagine your local Chick-fil-A and then just have people inundating it. Like, you wouldn't believe. I mean, hundreds of people, and I'm sitting here going back and forth between the drive-through and the front counter, and I'm just lost. I'm lost in the sauce. I don't know what I'm doing, and so I panic and I call my boss and I tell him what's going on, and he says, just power through it for right now. And little did I know, he actually called my brother-in-law, who, as I've told you before, is a business consultant for Chick-fil-A, and said, hey, should I go and help him? And David, God bless his soul, I've forgiven him, sort of. Told him, no, let him find his wings. Let him figure out how to do it. And so what it took was literally me not just pointing people in the direction they needed to go or telling them what to do, but literally getting in the trenches and doing it beside them, saying, hey, okay, I know this is tough, I know this is hard, and we weren't prepared for this, and that's my fault, but we got to get through this, we got to power through, we got to do what we've got to do. And I had a girl who was working in the drive-thru, bless her heart, that's usually a 2 to 3 person operation, she was doing it by herself. And I just kept going over there and saying, is there anything you need? Can I help you? I know I'm over here, and I'm over here, and I'm back there, and I was everywhere. I mean, I had the front of the house, I had the dining room, I had the kitchen, I had the drive-thru. I mean, I'm bouncing back and forth, trying to make sure that everything runs as smoothly as possible, and trying to put my hands in where they needed to be at any given moment. And she looked at me and she said, I got this. I just need to know that you've got my back if anything goes wrong. And that was the defining moment for me, because that was what told me, hey, anybody can do anything if you put them in a situation where they don't have a choice. Most people, when given the sink or swim, they're going to swim. But what they want to know is, if they sink, are you going to have their back? Are you going to say, hey, I was right there, I saw how hard it was, I knew what was going on, and there was no way that anybody could have done a better job than that person did. And so I had to be ready at that moment to say, yes, I've got your back. If you sink, I'm going down with you. Because there's no way that I could have stood back and said, well, you know, she could have done a better job. No, I mean, it was one of those moments where, as a leader, you have to decide, okay, am I going to And am I going to stand in a position where this person can trust me, where this person can know that I have their best interest at heart and that I've got their back, or am I just going to be a manager checking off a list? And that's the difference between leadership and management. Are you going to be the person who's just checking off the list, or are you going to be the person who goes, I've got you, I've got your back, I'm there for you 100%. So that was my defining moment. That night was my sink or swim night. And for all the confluence of events that occurred that night, I did manage to swim. I don't know how. To this day, I sit back and go, how the heck did I do that? How did I swim in that situation? But it's one of those things where if you have a team that you've put together that you know you can trust, and if you're willing to be a genuine leader and not just a manager, if you're willing to say, okay, I'm going to do everything that you do, then there's no way you cannot succeed, at least in the element of leading the people. The goal might not be met, the organizational challenge might not be overcome, but you will have led, and you will have done so in a way that you can look back on with honor and integrity and know, hey, I did the right thing regardless. I led people. I didn't just manage them, I led them. So that's kind of my personal best leadership experience or situation, if you will. The takeaway, I think, at the end of the day, we were wrapping up, and everybody's least favorite task when it comes time to clean up a restaurant is the bathrooms. Let's call it what it is. This is your least favorite task on a good night. On a night when you have had 500 to 1,000 elementary school students going in and out of your bathroom. That's a whole new ballgame. And one of the things that I would always do was at least once or twice a week, I'd be the one who went and cleaned up the bathroom at the end of the night when we were closing up. Because I wanted my team to know that, hey, I've done it before. That doesn't mean it's beneath me. Yes, I've reached this rank of management, but I'm not just a manager. I want to be a leader. And in order to do that, you have to know that there's nothing that I'm asking you to do that I haven't done or won't do. And it's very easy to, when you get into those upper echelons, to get into that habit of, well, I've done it before, so that should cover me for all of eternity. I've done it before, so I should always be able to say, well, I've done what you're doing, so that's the end of that discussion. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think more often than not what it has to be is I'm still willing to do what you're doing in order to be the effective leader. Because for me to just go in and say, well, I've cleaned bathrooms before, so you go ahead and clean them. Okay, but to the 16 or 17-year-old who's never seen me do it before, they're going, yeah, sure, okay, whatever. I mean, they're naturally cynical, and they're naturally skeptical, and I think that's an okay thing, but I think it's something that we as leaders have to work to overcome. We have to work to kind of correct that, if you will. So what did I do? I got in the trenches. That night I said, listen, you guys did a phenomenal job. I'm going to go do that. And then I'm going to go balance the books in the back, and then I'll do my walkthrough and make sure that everything else is done the way it needs to be done, and we'll wrap it up and call it a day, and we'll all go home. And that was that moment where I had to say, okay, what really is going to show them that not only in the midst of the chaos, but when the chaos is over, I'm still willing to lead. I'm not just here to lead in the chaos. I'm here to lead in the everyday moments. So that was it. That was in a nutshell my best leadership experience or situation. And as I've said, it's the best and the worst. The worst in that how I felt at that moment was just like overwhelming. I can't do this. And in hindsight, seeing how it all worked out, I would hands down call it the best leadership experience of my life. So I hope you enjoyed hearing about that. I hope maybe you got something out of it, maybe a nugget of wisdom to take with you. Feel free to leave some comments or tell me what you've thought, either here on the YouTube page or shoot me an email inside the classroom. however you want to do it. Again, I'm just excited about this class and all that we're going to do in the next 7 weeks now, because we've already made it through the first week. So here goes nothing. Let's hope it's fun and exciting and enjoyable, and I hope you had a great time listening to my best leadership experience, and I'm looking forward to hearing yours. Bye, guys.